Yeah, after, I guess, the initial thought of let's go and make a record for a couple of days turned into, I guess, the biggest thing I've ever done. We're back. Welcome back. 7 years.
Well, back, we never really went anywhere, funnily enough.
Where were you guys? What have you been doing?
7 years. Time flies when you're doing nothing.
Yeah, I've been waiting, and and now we've done something. What do you reckon?
It's good until the end.
2009, we did Rising Waters, and now in 2016, we've been together 20 years. We were pretty done with the whole thing probably back then. Got pretty tired of it, and from that point, I think you end up in this situation where the three of us all just went our separate ways. We just packed up shop. Matt started High Tension. I got married, started Harmony with my wife, and Dan joined Adelita's band and a bunch of other bands, Kinton, all sorts of stuff, and we all just kind of went away and did our own thing. And I think that was probably good, because when we came back, it was like three inmates who'd previously been doing a life sentence together, and had just watched each other shit for 10 years, and all of a sudden they're fine. There wasn't any of the I've seen your balls. It's like, I've seen your balls. Let's do something. I think the catalyst was probably Tim Brennan from Tim Records up in Brisbane and guitars. He asked us to contribute to his 7-inch club, and being the Nation Blue, we will contribute to your 7-inch club quite happily. So we were forced to write a song. That song was alright by our standards, and we're on the panel, so we decided that song was alright. And I don't know, from that, we just kept kind of going.
It was, I guess a new trimmer, though not physically, but musically, approached the Nation Blue. We got to a point of going, awesome, let's do another record. We got enough of what the Nation Blue considers to be enough to be ready to go into the studio, which is having half a record with no vocals planned.
Nation Blue's always on the hunt to get our studios, always looking to do things as organically and as easy as possible, because the whole nature of recording is stressful. People don't like immortalising their parts. And Dan can't handle the red light. Dan sees that fucking red light, and it's like it's a lobotomy for him. He cannot handle it at all. So it's like, all right, well, let's set him up as far away from a red light as possible, so we're going to need a really fucking big room. So I found the Mechanics Institute in Kinton, which is this enormous bloody space that is so big that we couldn't, even in the close mics, we couldn't get the echo out of it. There is so much reverb in the bloody room, it's not funny.
And it all seemed like a bit of a dream until, of course, we then found out that Tom had decided that he wanted to record it himself.
I think Tom assumed he would record and it would all be on his laptop, and Matt and I kind of assumed that he would think that, so we then probably, without contacting each other, came up with our own list of options.
We definitely felt it would be probably better off if we could sort of try to con Tom into believing that if we had an engineer come along, just to make sure things are right for you to do it, that very quickly he'd realise that he was out of his element, and it may be better for him to concentrate on the part where he's just playing.
Mike illustrated very early on that he actually knows something about audio, which I don't have a clue about, and I was just going to paper mache it into a record that sounded shit. And Matt and Dan obviously recognised that and finessed Mike into the process.
Initially, I think the concept was to go out to this hall in the country. I think we were looking for maybe 3 to 5 days tracking, make a record, see what happens. I don't know what happened in between now and then, but I don't know.
Poor old Mike, man. He fucking slaughtered him. He had no idea what he was getting into when he said, yeah, I'll come record you.
Mike basically became a hostage. He was unable to really escape us on a daily basis.
Well, the good thing was, when we were tracking, I didn't really have to look at anyone. I was in another room, so...
Oh yeah, the original intention was one record because we'd done the bare minimum and we had the bare minimum, and that was going to be easy. Then we found out that we were expecting a child.
Do you want to clarify that as being your wife and not the band?
No, collectively as a band, because that's the nature of the band. We're all fathers now. Baby. But I couldn't tell the other two. Matt and Dan's. I couldn't tell Matt and Dan that I was pregnant with child.
All of a sudden, Tom got real weird.
What did he get weird?
He'd ring Dan and I and be like, the label rang and we need to release the album in a month. And we're like, well, we haven't actually had a meeting with any label yet. It's our record. We can do whatever we want wait till it's finished. And then he'd go, oh, I can't do anything for 9 months. And he literally said 9 months.
Really? I don't remember that.
We effectively stopped, shelved it, figured out that we'll just sit on it, and that's literally all I did for the next 9 months. And I came out the other end of that 9 months with pretty wonderful baby daughter and about 18 more songs. So we figured, well, got all these other songs. So I called them up. We had 2 cracks at them, literally, about 3 days before we went up to Kinton again. You think about double albums, and pretty much every review always says the same thing, which is would have been awesome if it was just 10 songs. They had to cut the shit. So I thought, well, people can't say that if you give them 2 full-length records. I reckon it's a foolproof plan that will be applauded for in the years to come. It's like, well, there's some pretty clear dividing lines between the groups of songs. One was a little bit darker and I reckon a lot angrier, and that ended up being Black, which is the first one. And the second one was kind of more straight up 2-minute rock songs, which kind of were a bit more personal in nature. So yeah, they kind of slid pretty easily into 2 distinct camps.
The album Black has sort of taken an evolution of what we've done over the album covers. It sort of became a thing that we had these somewhat sort of sinister looking dwellings that became the focus of the artwork, and then we sat down and went, fuck, we've got 30 songs and no idea what to do with artwork.
So we figured this time we'd actually go for the ultimate house, which is Parliament House, the ultimate house of disrepair, and basically engaged a mate of mine, Pear, to do a pointillism drawing of it, which was just millions and millions of dots. Once I started to see the mock-ups for that image, I actually wrote a few songs specifically to address a few of the goings-on in that particular building.
I want that black knight saddle like to plummet back to earth. I summon all my put an inflection on its curve. I hear the whistling on its tongue as it breaks the upper atmosphere. I spin a radiant angel over rampant starvation, over massive plastic islands and illegal island prisons. So make the right decision. Will it ditch in the Pacific? No, will it down the coast? Over Brisbane, over Sydney to the Australian Capital Territory. Bonner, Cumberland, Franklin, Harrison, Lynham, Downer, Dixon, Brighton, burning like a refugee on Commonwealth Avenue, cross the state, circle past the former 10 embassy, incinerate the forecourt, up to the front door, let's look at some alternatives, they have no representatives.
For Blue, we threw around a bunch of ideas, and I was cruising on my mate Nick Dombrovskis' website, and Nick did the original artwork for Descend back in 1998. So in a pretty sweet example of full circle, we've come back to Nick for this one, and it's just of the hills up behind Hobart, which sounds pretty innocuous, but it is heavy image.
It is our Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. There's no other way to look at it.
The Guns N' Roses analogy came up sort of in between the sessions, and I think Matt and I, more so than Tom, really ran with it, like the same cover, just different shades, different colours. And then I started, when we were putting the track list together, I started going, oh, that's our November Rain. That's probably more Use Your Illusion 1. That's a bit more like Get in the Ring. That's probably a little bit more Civil War. That's solos, heaps like November Rain. And I couldn't shake it. So when we couldn't call it Usual Illusion 1 and 2, I sort of dropped that, and then just came back to reality a bit.
I guess, yeah, now that it's done, this has taken probably about what feels like 18 years rather than 18 months. But now that it's done, I guess an ideal scenario is you don't ever have to see the band again. But unfortunately, I do share a lineage in another musical venture with one of the guys. So that's never going to happen.
I feel like this band will probably keep existing until the band says there's no need for this anymore. But from here on in, who knows, man? Like 2 fucking albums. We'll definitely do 1 tour for the 2 albums.
We'll just try and learn the songs, not all of them, but as many as we can, and play a few of them, varying degrees of success, and disappear.
We have to say yes to a few more shows. We've got to sell the fucking things. We're twice as many to sell now, which is weird. So none of us fucking thought this through, you know. Maybe go to Adelaide? Probably not.
It'll be fine. Look, it is what it is.
Yeah, look. I can't actually fucking remember now.